Hello and welcome back to Women's Football Talk, the YouTube channel that brings you all the latest news and stories from around the world of women's football. It is now the international break, and that means we have a lot of fixtures to look forward to, including some important playoff ties in the final few places for next year's European Championships. But before we get into that, make sure you hit that subscribe button, as currently 86% of you are subscribed to my channel, and we want to get that number as low as possible. So, the games we have to look forward to in terms of the Women's Euros qualifying, we have the Czech Republic playing Switzerland at 3 o'clock, Ukraine play Northern Ireland at 5 o'clock, and then Portugal play Russia at 6:30 p.m. and they are all UK times, so please check your local listings for the times then. Very good games. I think they're all going to be quite close to call. I don't see any one particular side as the favourites heading into these three games, and it should be a very interesting watch to see who gets the upper hand in this first leg, whilst the second leg will take place next Tuesday. Again, times, check your local listings, and I will do an update on it before we head into them fixtures and a recap of the other fixtures elsewhere. We have Bosnia and Herzegovina play Albania, Hungary play Poland, Spain play the Netherlands, Wales play Canada, and France play England. So they are some very interesting games to look forward to this coming Friday and Saturday as well. We also have Mexico, Slovakia, Italy, Iceland, Germany, Australia, and Sweden versus the US. So they are games that are going to definitely draw your eyes to attention to watch them, and should be a very good international break. I believe this is set to be the last, unless there's one more before the managers have to announce their final 18 players for the Olympics this upcoming summer. So it's definitely something to look forward to see who they do select. Right, so away from the international scene, there's been a bit of club news regarding Birmingham City over this past week, and it's to do with the fact that the players have put in complaints, according to the Telegraph, about how the ground has been and how the facilities have been poorly run over the last few seasons. Now, going forward, from what I've known of this article, is they started the season with 8 players under contract, and heading forth to next season they only have 3 players that are guaranteed or that have contracts for next season. Now, there's been a lot of stuff about injuries. Birmingham City have had games postponed due to not having enough fit players. There's also the game against Aston Villa that got postponed, and the reason has been revealed as that the club didn't want to move their games to St George's Park for that game and pay a £500 fee, even though since that game was postponed there has been 2 games of Birmingham City's played at St George's Park, and the club have since gone back to Damson Park to play their games. The women's team was asked to leave the training complex to make room for the under-12 boys side, so it's an absolute disgrace of a thing to see come through for any women's side or any national professional football team to endure, and the fact that this is happening to such an iconic team like Birmingham City is absolutely disgraceful. There's also been stories about the medical staff and not having a medical doctor travel to away games, so that's why a lot of injuries. Where the rehabbing that takes place is apparently a small porter cabin. They have to make their own ways to travel to away games because apparently that's not funded for by the club. Key staff also, they're only part-timers, so it's absolutely ridiculous to see, and I'm hoping that the FA take a deep hard look into this and make sure that this is fixed to an appropriate level, so that Birmingham City can continue to do as well as possible as they have done in the past and continue playing as a women's team. Because as it stands, this is just an outside look of it. From my understanding, it could be that they face expulsion from the WSL and not be play as a women's team, and it does seem to be the way that they are. Birmingham City don't care about the women's team and will happily get rid of them, because if you're making the under 12s a priority over the women's team, that shows you don't care about the women's team. In 2021, that's just not acceptable. the women's team should be given the same amount of opportunity as the men's team. Because if you look at other teams amongst the WSL as where teams have done well, AEG, Chelsea, Man City, Arsenal, Man United recently, their funding has gone up and there is places for them to improve. And in the last 20 minutes or so, Birmingham City have just released this statement following the article. So, firstly, Birmingham City is extremely proud of its history and achievements of the women's team and the current playing squad. The club will always support our players and staff in every way we can. We are disappointed to learn that a private and internal matter was made public over the weekend. Whilst media reports did discuss concerns of the players, several of the points raised were factually incorrect or lacked important context. We are particularly disappointed in the inaccuracies reported by Sky Sports News and The Athletic. Some claims have been particularly damaging and some so ridiculous they don't warrant any attention. A letter signed on behalf of the playing squad was received and responded to within 7 days. The efforts of the players have started an open dialogue between the board and the women's squad to provide clarity over these issues. In that letter, a request to meet with the board was made and that request has since been fulfilled. It is no secret we have one of the lowest budgets in the Barclays FA Women's Super League, and whilst the club has supported the women's setup with large investments over recent years, this is incomparable to some of the budgets that exist in the league today. The women's football landscape has changed drastically with more investment and resources required year on year. The COVID-19 pandemic has only served as a compound and an already difficult situation. The impact of this will be felt by many clubs across the country, and we do not believe that many of the challenges we face are unique to Birmingham City. Whilst we have a small squad in relation to other clubs in the FAWSL, we also have an obligation to fund the team responsibly, and the club have worked hard to recruit players in keeping with our playing budget. Some of the issues related to the size of our facilities, in addition to our staffing levels, we continue to work with the FA regarding licensing criteria, and contrary to reports, we meet all minimum wage regulations in relation to contracted players. We are satisfied with our current matchday medical arrangement in relation to our team doctor being present, and will meet FA regulations as the home and away side, as we have all season. It is not the norm for the club doctor to travel to an away side in the WSL. There are always improvements that can be made by moving the women's team to the Trillion Trophy Training Centre in 2019 was a big step forward. There are still challenges to overcome in accommodating all our teams in one location, but we continue to work towards finding the best possible solution for all parties. Many of our buildings at our Wast Hills training facility are semi-permanent structures that, as they were viewed as the appropriate choice for when we upgraded our infrastructure in the summer of 19. And it continues to go on stuff about the whole article that came out, and it says they look forward to playing games at next season at St Andrews, long-term future, so they can keep playing for the 2022-3 season. And yes, so they do seem to be very confident of going forward, and they do seem interested in making a full-fledged return to the women's game at a high enough level. So hopefully this is actually a bit of truth now, and it is provided that they continue and the facilities and all that stuff is made available for the team. So let's hope that this is the start of something new, and that Birmingham can continue to thrive, continue to see the same amount of budget pumped into them as the other teams around them in the WSL are. Obviously, not all teams are going to be able to have the same budgets as the likes of Chelsea, Man United, Arsenal and Man Cities, but a reasonable budget so that they can play and that some of this accusation stuff doesn't happen again in the future. Right, we'll leave that there. Now we'll be back at the start of next week to round up all the international breaks action and look ahead to the second set of fixtures that we have coming up in the international break, and anything else that develops over the weekend in regards to obviously this Birmingham City story and any other stories to look forward to. In the meantime, like I said at the start, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Click like, turn on the bell post notification. Again, so that means you definitely know you want to be notified that whenever I upload a video, which is usually twice a week, that you want to see it. Until then, we'll see you soon.